The mystery that surrounds At Attin and Star Wars Skeleton Crew has been incredibly great, and with only 2 episodes left, we still don't know a lot about the planet's origin and what happened to the rest of the jewels of the Republic. What caused them to be destroyed? So here's hoping that the last 2 episodes of the series are much longer than what we've been given so far. But with all that said, there's actually been a clue about the history of At Attin hiding right in front of our face since episode 1, and we may have all missed it. Mandalore. So one of the biggest questions I've seen everyone asking about Star Wars Skeleton Crew has been, when was it that At Attin and its fellow sister planets known as the 9 Jewels of the Republic established? And in episode 4 we actually learned the name of at least 6 of these planets. At Attin, At Aytuu, At Achrann, At Aravin, At Arissia, At Acoda. Now I think these are actually the ancient names for all these planets, and everybody in the Star Wars galaxy probably knows them by a different name. But in episode 6 of the series, we learned that the 9 Jewels of the Republic were actually mints built for the Republic. And that's why they are surrounded by so much secrecy, along with the fact that such scarce records were kept. All knowledge of the planet's existence was lost to time, and the planets themselves had become fairy tales among pirates. Now I've also seen some confusion and debate over if the credits that are being produced on these planets are truly Old Republic credits, or if the credits are in actuality from the High Republic. And I think a lot of this confusion stems from an earlier interview when the directors themselves deflected a question when confronted about the credits, saying that when they refer to the credits as being Old Republic credits, they are talking about the previous galactic body that ruled before the Empire, so in this case the Republic. And I personally believe that they are indeed credits from the Old Republic that we all know and love. In fact, as I've mentioned in a previous video, the credits themselves seem to have the emblem of the Sith Empire printed right on them. Now, with all that said, I would also argue that the credits themselves were technically used in both eras, that is, the Old Republic and the High Republic. And that's because I believe that the Great Work is most likely referencing the creation of the mints on all 9 planets, which would have brought stability to the Old Republic, and because of this stability, it caused the Republic to prosper, which led to the Golden Age of the Republic known as the High Republic. And as I mentioned before, it's this mural in Fern's house on At Attin which provides us with this clue and a not so obvious Easter egg. And this mural is definitely important because they make it a point to show it to us at least once every time there are scenes taking place on At Attin. And this mural itself is most likely showing us the establishment of the Great Work and the creation of civilization on this planet. Now in the mural, we see a symbol that looks like a sun in the sky. We see people made up of a variety of species surrounding a central figure, who appears to be the most prominent figure in the picture. And in the background of the mural, there is a cloudy golden skyline. Now in episode 3, we actually learned that these golden clouds seem to be a nebula that's concealing the planet, and that all the little star-like things in the sky of the mural are actually satellites that surround the planets and may be causing the nebula obstruction. And I think that maybe these satellites might have been the precursor or inspiration behind the climate disruption arrays used in Operation Cinder. Now the sun-like sigil that everyone is looking up at are actually Palmarish numerals, meaning that they existed pre-Republic. And in universe, these symbols are of the Tianese language, which is the Star Wars equivalent to Greek. And the symbol we see on all the kids' school gear is the symbol for Omega, and is also the last number in the Greek alphabet. And as we learned from Kim, there were 9 planets. So I believe that At Attin may have been the last of the mints to be established, which would mean that the Omega symbol is At Attin's designation and signifies that this is the 9th planet in the Great Work. Now the people in the mural seem to be made up of all the different species that make up the vast majority of At Attin's population, and it's most likely that they could be the founders of the Great Work. We see 2 humans wearing hats, one sitting and one standing on opposite ends of the mural. And what's interesting is that the human on the left is wearing the outfit of a Republic Pathfinder. And these Pathfinders were active during the High Republic era and conducted expeditions into the Outer Rim territories, often accompanying Jedi. Next we see what appears to be an elderly person of Neo species. And given how studious and technologically advanced Neo species appears to be, and seeing how he's wearing what appears to be a blacksmith's overalls, I think this elderly Neo is most likely the engineer in charge of the expedition. We also see a central figure that's human wearing all white, making it seem like she's a deity of At Attin. But judging from her hairstyle and what appears to be lavish white robes, which are similar to Padme's and Leia's, I believe she's most likely a senator of the Republic, and the one in charge with overseeing the great work on At Attin. Now here's the biggest clue in regards to when At Attin was established. Now as I mentioned earlier, Pathfinders typically accompany Jedi, and it just so happens that in the mural we can actually see a Jedi Ithorian. And the Ithorian we saw at the beginning of the show could be a descendant of this Jedi. And what's interesting about this Jedi is that he's wearing the robes from a Jedi of the High Republic era. But later in the series, we actually see that there's another part to the mural. And in the second part, there is another Jedi who's also wearing High Republic robes. And this all but confirms that this great work on At Attin took place at some point during the High Republic. Now, I personally believe that when all this was established was right at the end of the Old Republic and right at the beginning of the High Republic. But what's even more interesting is that the Jedi are seen kneeling before the Senator in this creation of the Republic. In Act, we don't typically see the Jedi commit. In fact, really the only time we see a Jedi kneel is when a Padawan kneels during their knighting ceremony. And I think it's basically unheard of for a Jedi to kneel before a government entity or ruler in general. And really the only moment I can think of it happening off the top of my head is when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan kneeled before Boss Nash while asking for the Gungans for help. And I'm just gonna throw this out there, the only order we see bowing or kneeling before a master or superior consistently in Star Wars are the Sith. Now, what I believe the mural is really showing us is the beginning of the end of the Jedi. And what I mean by that is that it's showing us how the Jedi are beginning to stray away from following and listening to the Force and becoming more intertwined in Republic affairs, so that they are no longer servants of the Force but servants of the politicians in the Republic. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want more Star Wars content, give me a follow. See you next time.